All right, so I'll get into it. Nathaniel Tank Dell.
There you go, Tank.
Wide receiver, Houston. 5'8" and 3/8 inches. I'm going to say the 3/8 because when you're 5'8", you need every little bit you can. 165 pounds, 8 5/8 inch hands.
That's so small,
so tiny.
Itty bitty.
4.49 in the 40, 1.49 in the 10-yard split. So a very good 10-yard split. Broad jump, 121 inches. I don't have anything else on the combine numbers. In 13 games last year, 109 receptions, 1,398 yards, and 17 touchdowns. 4 rush attempts for an additional 9 yards. Fantastic game speed this guy has.
So Tank Dell really burst onto the scene during the Senior Bowl. That was where all of a sudden everybody was talking about Tank Dell. You look at just – let me rephrase this. The part that I don't need to rephrase, I needed to rephrase it in my head.
In your head, because you hadn't
audibly
phrased it yet.
Yeah. So I'm not rephrasing it. I'm phrasing it for the first time, but the second time in my head.
All right.
The tricky part is a lot of the drills that you see with the combine or with the Senior Bowl, those one-on-one defensive back wide receiver drills, they make receivers look awesome.
Awesome.
Because they're designed for wide receivers to showcase their movement skills. There's no safety help. There's no, it is a really difficult drill for these defensive backs. So if they even get close, it's a good win for the defensive backs. But with his speed, with his movement set, he dominated there. He looked like a god amongst men. And when you watch him play, there's a lot of exciting things on his tape. He has very fun tape. I mean, he can go up and get the ball for not being that big. I mean, he can make some acrobatic catches. He can make guys miss in the open field. But there's a lot of long touchdowns. He just figures out a way to catch the ball and go.
It's because he gets beat his defenders so well.
Easily.
You said his stop go ability is amazing.
Well, and usually guys this small don't always have good releases because sometimes your release, yes, part of it's speeds, part of it's your foot agility, things like that. But there's also part of it that is strength, being able to fight through contact and things like that. So you don't always see the best releases out of these small guys because of that. They don't have the play strength. He's just so fast and quick, and his foot frequency is so impressive that his releases are really good.
In my release notes, I wrote, he's as quick as a hiccup. Yes. And he does a good job of varying his release.
He does.
And that keeps
guys, a few different moves.
It keeps guys off guard just enough that they can't get hands on him. Yep. And he's that quick. He's that fast in and out of breaks, and he's explosive. So this guy is, for me, he's a much more enticing guy than Josh Downs.
So I have him at 6 right now.
Yeah.
And they're fractions of a point apart.
Right.
So I mean, even though they're 2 spots away, they're 0.15 points apart. So they are very, very close at a 73.05.
And I think Rich nailed it when he said, if this guy was 3 inches taller, we'd be having a completely different conversation.
Just would he have the same movement skills and the speed if he had that size?
I can't even get him remotely close to 6 on my board.
Really?
And I love, I love his tape.
He's such a hard eval because he's just 5'8".
I mean, you're talking about somebody average 90 yards a game, right? Best of the class.
Mm-hmm. And Houston is a place where receivers tend to thrive.
Yeah. Led red zone receiving touchdowns. I saw that stat. Led the class in reception over the last 2 years. Led him in yards. Second most touchdowns with 29. His stop ability was fantastic. I thought he tracked the ball really well. You mentioned these big touchdowns because he had the defensive backs on skates.
He did
out there. But I'm sorry, just as much as I hammered against gluteus minimus, and I hammered against gluteus minimus.
Deuce Vaughn.
For those that don't remember.
And Jared Patterson.
Jared Patterson, Deuce Vaughn.
Unfortunately for me, Tank Dell falls right in that category where, I love his college tape, and unfortunately for him, I wish he was a little bit bigger, but guys that are 5'8", that are 100 and how much is his weight? 165 pounds.
Just read from my notes. He's only 5'8" and 165, and that is hard to project to having great success.
It is.
Yeah, his size will be so hard for him to be a consistent fantasy football contributor. We need an absolute ton of targets, which is very unlikely. Guys at his size just don't produce in the NFL at fantasy football levels. His hands are too small, which he showed. He had 11 drops in 2021, 9 in 2022. He also had 3 fumbles because the ball is easier to knock out of his hands. He will be one of those interesting weapons on a team that could be in a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 spot that can help an NFL team because he's so dynamic. But he'll never be a consistent fantasy football option. His ceiling would be like an Andrew Hawkins, which was
he reminds me of somebody that actually you and I both liked last year, Matt. But we said kind of the same thing. Like, we're not drafting him, even though we like him. Yeah. We're not drafting him that high because of these concerns. Calvin Austin. Yeah. Reminds me of Calvin Austin last year a lot.
And he's buried. And I remember I told you guys, like, I don't get. Remember, I was like, at the time you laughed at me, I was like, I like Wan'Dale Robinson way better than Calvin Austin.
They're both real similar size. It's not like Wan'Dale Robinson's.
Wan'Dale got drafted way higher and looked better. No, and he's not. But like, I'm sorry. Like, and Tank's awesome. Like, he should go play in the XFL. You know, like, he's awesome. He's not going to be. He could play on an NFL roster, but he's not going to be a fantasy football contributor.
He's the guy that reminds me, like, physically looking at him and kind of explosiveness and of Deshaun Jackson. Like, he's the guy that's. Because Deshaun Jackson was 160 pounds, maybe, and he was probably 5'10". You know what I mean? And 160, 165 pounds. So it's very similar as far as size and kind of movement skills. But how the hell do you project that?
Yeah, and like, you throw the football hard to him, man, like or deep ball. Like, what is this? The football weight compared to his body weight? Like, what is this? Like, what is that? So like, he's like catching like it's like he's catching his own body weight. You know what I mean, like, it's crazy out there. He's off my board.
Right, there are.
He's off your board.
There are plenty.
I'm not wasting traffic on listen, and I love it, but I'm not wasting. He has. I'm telling you, he has a 0.1% chance of being a fantasy football relevant. So you mentioned like guys, I'm not going to waste my chance. Like you're talking about Puka. I'm not even wasting a draft pick on him.
He's explosive enough that I would waste a draft.
If he's in the third round.
Yeah, but he's got a person that
just in case he's the guy. You never know, man.
I guess. I mean, but we even talked about it like at Darren Sproles. Like, I guess all Darren Sproles' production had come in the passing game. So there was like short manufactured behind the line of scrimmage, but like one hit and he's deceased.
Yeah, no, it's hard, man. Like, it is really. It's a hard argument to even make for me.
Like what? Like, do NFL players curl him with one arm?
I wouldn't take him in the third round because I think that's too high. I would in the fourth probably think about that because I think he's explosive enough.
Maybe off my board, maybe the 6. Like one of my last picks. Like when you're just looking for names, like Tank Dell's explosive. I'll take him. Like if I pick like 5'10",
he'll be gone. He'll be gone.
I know.
But what if he's taken in the third round?
I don't care. Andy Isabella was taken in the second round. I don't care. Like,
there are two very different players.
Tutu Atwell was taken in the second round.
Yeah,
hated him. Like, didn't like him either. Like, it's like just because. Listen, there's a player
I never understood Tutu Atwell. That one, he wasn't even that good.
I know, but sometimes players get drafted just higher too because they are explosive like that. Sure. And like, I don't understand it. Like, it doesn't change my mind because the history is going to tell me. And if I'm wrong, so wrong. Because guess what? I'm going to be right about players like this 99% of the time. And I don't even need a roster clogger on my
You're right on that.
team.
You're right.
I just don't need it.
And we're not.
It's no diss against the player.
To be clear, we're not arguing against you saying like he should be drafted highly. All I'm saying is like
I'd rather draft Chase Brown.
Wow.
I don't have a problem with that.
I would rather Tank Dell.
I don't have a problem with Chase Brown. Go ahead.
I'd rather have Gluteus Minimus.
So would I.
I think there's enough.
Wait, Gluteus Minimus is Minimus?
Oh no, not him. He's way too. He's 5'8" too.
No, he's like
5'5".
Oh, yeah, he's way again. He's the tip of the spear, like literally.
There's enough there that I would be willing to take him in the mid third, which I think he's going to go well before that. So I probably won't even have an opportunity to. But
if we're playing hide and seek and you can hide behind a fire hydrant, I can't draft you.